My father never contributed to my college expenses, yet he set aside funds for his other children. When he learned that my brother, not him, would be walking me down the aisle at my wedding, he became furious and declared he didn't support my marriage. About 25 years ago, two impulsive 20-year-olds got intoxicated and conceived me. They shared no common ground, didn't particularly care for each other, but for some reason chose to keep me. I always lived with my mom full-time. I love her dearly, but she's quite disorganized. I have 6 half-siblings, 2 of whom share the same father as me. Our home was always clean, and we never went hungry, but I know there were times my mom sacrificed her own needs for ours. She clearly loves all of us deeply, but her irresponsibility was evident. My dad, on the other hand, seems more put together, but we've never been close. He married Hilda, now in her mid-40s, when I was around 6, and they had my half-brothers, Jesse, 16, and Kyle, 14, a few years later. They both have successful careers, a nice home, and fancy cars. I know my dad paid child support, but their lifestyle was worlds apart from mine. I'd visit every other weekend, but as their lives got busier with their sons, I'd only hear from my dad when he had time, maybe once a month before college. After I started college, we'd see each other sporadically, mostly during holidays. During one holiday, Hilda, a bit tipsy, revealed that after my mom had me, my dad initially cut her off and only paid child support until my grandparents shamed him into taking some responsibility. That revelation stung, but it explained a lot about my childhood. Hilda's resentment came up because she was upset my dad had to pay child support until I was 21, even implying she wished I hadn't gone to college. It hurt to hear, as I'd always thought she at least tolerated me. Apparently, she harbored resentment toward my mom because when they had Jesse, they turned my room at their house into a nursery, moving my belongings elsewhere. My mom then pursued and won a significant increase in child support, which impacted them financially. I've worked through this with free therapy in college, and I'm now thriving professionally and mentally. My fiancé and I earn about as much as my dad and Hilda, though we have less property. I met my fiancé, John, 25, during freshman week of college, but we didn't start dating until 2 years later. We've been inseparable since. His family is incredible, loving, supportive, and kind, with substantial wealth. Even if they had nothing, I'd feel blessed to join their family. For instance, John's mom gave him her grandmother's ring for our engagement and offered me her or her sister's jewelry for the wedding. His dad helped my brother land a job in a tough industry, and even his sister will be my maid of honor. They've told me I don't need to apologize for my chaotic mom and have thanked her for raising the woman their son loves. They're just so warm and uplifting. I'm incredibly fortunate. I've set firm boundaries with my mom, making it clear I'm her daughter, not her friend. We've had tough conversations, but our relationship is much better now. I'm both sad and glad to see she's been a more responsible parent to my 4 youngest siblings than she was to my brother Jake, 23, different dad, and me. My dad and I have never been close, but I've made efforts. When John and I discussed getting engaged, he asked if he should seek my dad's permission. Initially, I dismissed it, but then thought my dad, being traditional and my only father, might appreciate it. John asked, and my dad was thrilled, as I expected. They never offered to help with the wedding, which wasn't surprising, and I didn't ask. We're getting married soon in John's hometown, a popular vacation spot where his family knows nearly everyone, so it'll be a grand event. John's family and we wanted a big wedding, but as we're early in our careers, his parents are covering the costs, though I'm paying for my dress, and my mom and younger siblings travel. I assumed my dad would walk me down the aisle, but at a recent bridal shower, Hilda mentioned to John's mom how proud they must be that I funded my own college education. She added that it looked challenging and that they'd saved plenty for their son's college and likely grad school. Overhearing this confirmed by John's mom hurt deeply. College was tough. Sometimes I survived on multivitamins and peanut butter sandwiches, with my mom occasionally sending $20. I'm proud of myself, but knowing my dad saved for his son's education but not mine made it clear where I stood. So I asked Jake to walk me down the aisle. John and his family fully support this. Yesterday, Hilda called about the rehearsal dinner logistics, assuming my dad would walk me down the aisle. I awkwardly clarified that Jake would do it, but said I was excited to see them. Hours later, my dad showed up at our condo, upset, saying he'd always dreamed of giving me away. I was in a good mental space and casually said I didn't think he'd care. He grew aggressive, accusing me of trying to embarrass him, saying he'd have shown up expecting to walk me down the aisle if Hilda hadn't asked. I pressed him on why he assumed that, and he said any father would. I countered that most fathers don't ignore their child early on, seek minimal custody, or fund college for some kids but not others. They don't skip father-daughter events or vacations. He got mad but couldn't argue, then said he might not approve of my marriage. I told him I wasn't concerned, as we simply weren't significant to each other. He left, visibly upset. John supports my choice, but thinks I should have warned my dad he'd only be a guest. I value John's perspective, but he doesn't fully grasp my family dynamics. His family is devoted and supportive, while my dad only did the legal minimum. I never expected his help, so he shouldn't expect a role in my wedding. I know I'm not wrong for choosing Jake to walk me down the aisle. But was I wrong for not explicitly telling my dad he'd only be a guest? Comments and OOP responses, reworded. Comment 1, downvoted. If you were eating just multivitamins and PB&Js in college while your dad paid child support, it sounds like your mom used that money for her other kids. He was there for you, so stop acting entitled. OOP, child support lasted until I was 21. The toughest years were after that, as I finished my master's at 23. My mom sent me money from it, minus health insurance costs. Comment 2, I'm unclear on child support, but if your dad paid until you were 21, shouldn't that have covered tuition? OOP. No, the amount didn't increase for college. My mom sent me some of it for the first 2 years, but it stopped at 21 when things got really hard. Comment 3, you're not wrong at all. Your dad has some gall expecting a role after treating you as less than his other kids. I'd have lost it at him saying he dreamed of walking you down the aisle. You owe him nothing. Did he warn you he'd skip college funding or barely show up as a dad? Uninvite him. He doesn't even approve of your marriage. OOP. Honestly, I doubt he's been dreaming of this long. One of my brothers is trans, so I think he saw me as his second chance for father-daughter moments, but that's not happening. Comment 4. The legal minimum gets him an invite, not a starring role. Add a speech praising your mom for giving you her last dollar when you struggled in college. Highlight how you learned who truly matters, then have a mother-daughter dance. OOP. My mom was far better than my dad, but both had flaws. I love the speech idea, though. Comment 5, downvoted. You had a month since the shower to tell him. That's on you. OOP. Yes, John's family hosted a small shower for out-of-town relatives, and my friends are hosting another. I told everyone attending both that gifts weren't needed for both or at all. OOP clarification on child support. Since this keeps coming up, one for my first 2 college years, my mom sent me a few $100s monthly from child support, but used some for my health insurance and household emergencies. I lived there in summers. 2, it was her money to use as needed, even for my siblings. 3, after 21, when child support ended, she'd send $20 when she could. My dad hasn't given me anything since I turned 21. Comment 6. You should have said walking you down the aisle wasn't court-ordered, so why would he expect it? OOP. Haha, that's a great line. OOP update. Thank you all for your feedback. It was cathartic. While most agreed I wasn't wrong, I began to see the point of those saying I should have been upfront. I could have told my dad he'd only be a guest, and avoiding that wasn't helpful. I apologized to John, who admitted he doesn't fully understand my family dynamics and is glad for that. I mentioned my brother is trans. My dad and Hilda hoped it was a phase, but allowed puberty blockers. It's not a phase, and I think my dad's only daughter fixation stems from this. My sister-in-law, Syl, shared that if my dad and Hilda had a daughter, Hilda would have ensured he walked her down the aisle before me. My dad sent a long email, same old excuses. Life was hard, he wasn't ready to be a dad, he loves me, etc. No promises to change, no wedding help, just repeated he's dreamed of walking me down the aisle. I replied that we're excited to have him as a guest and asked about food allergies. I know their youngest's allergies, but asked anyway. I'd already chosen Jake to walk me down the aisle, so his email didn't sway me. My SIL, one of my closest friends, and John have been so supportive. She encouraged me to date John initially, and I'm forever grateful. She and my father-in-law, Phil, attend a local amateur wrestling event together, drink beer, and John or I pick them up. It's their thing, so I was thrilled when she invited me last weekend. My FIL bragged about his 2 daughters, and my SIL said she's excited to finally have a sister. I shared my new ceremony plan, giving myself away, not having Jake walk me down, and despite their traditional leanings, they loved it. I'm thrilled for my future. I've worked hard, got lucky with John's family, and the wedding will kick off a wonderful life. Comments with OOP responses. OOP clarification on Jake. I initially chose Jake because he's my closest male family member, and I thought I needed a man to walk me down the aisle. Now I'll give myself away. Comment 7. What awful things has Hilda done to make you think your dad would have prioritized her daughter over you? If it's too personal, no worries, just curious how bad she is. OOP. My brother is trans, so yeah, that's part of it. Comment 8. Hilda's transphobic, huh? You and your brother deserve better. OOP, she's not transphobic, they've supported my brother. I think my dad's fixation on me as his only daughter comes from realizing I'm his only shot at traditional father-daughter moments. If he and Hilda had a daughter, she'd likely insist he walk her down first. Second story, reworded. I 27F have been with my boyfriend 26M for 2 years. Our families are tight-knit, and our moms became close friends after we started dating. I genuinely like his mom, 50F, and thought we had a solid bond. My boyfriend and his mom have a strong relationship, but since we got together, she seemed jealous and started mimicking me. When my boyfriend got me a beanie from a local brand we love, she bought the same one. When we shopped for bikinis, she purchased the exact one I chose. He gifted me a camping cooler, and she got the same model. Now she's eyeing the same 4x4 off-road SUV I bought 6 months ago, despite having no need for it since she doesn't camp or ride dirt bikes. She also makes uncomfortable, inappropriate comments. If I mention wanting breakfast, she'll say, "Don't you get enough from my son?" If I say I'm tired, she'll quip, "Maybe don't stay up so late getting intimate." Once I noted my boyfriend's large hands and she said, "You know what that means, mama didn't raise a small fry." On a road trip, we stopped for a bathroom break and my boyfriend peed by the roadside. I jokingly peeked over his shoulder and his mom copied me, trying to look too. She makes these remarks in front of my boyfriend, who calls her out for being weird, but she laughs it off. When she tried to peek during the road trip, he pushed her away and snapped at her to stop, but she didn't take it seriously. I envision a future with my boyfriend, kids, a home, land, everything. Cutting his mom off or issuing an ultimatum feels impractical. Am I overreacting? Should I ignore this and hope it fades? Edit. Things escalated. She went ballistic when my boyfriend confronted her. We ended up cutting contact. I posted a full update on her reaction. "Thank you for the advice. It wasn't what I wanted to hear, but it was necessary." Update. I was overwhelmed by the responses to my post and horrified to see my concerns validated, especially learning about emotional incest, which I had to research and despised. Here's what happened in the last month. I had an uncomfortable talk with my boyfriend, who was equally appalled. He hadn't realized how disturbing her behavior was until we laid it all out. He confirmed there's no history of deeper abuse. This seems to be recent, likely triggered by jealousy since I'm his most serious partner. He confronted his mom alone, explaining her actions were inappropriate and needed to stop. She lost it, bombarding me with texts saying I'd never outshine her, that she's his first love, and that I was too insecure despite our friendship. She insisted her comments weren't weird or sexual and called us overly sensitive. It escalated into a shouting match, and when he threatened to cut ties his siblings already have, she dared him, saying he'd face consequences. So we cut contact. She's been spinning a narrative to her friends and family, blaming me for turning her son against her. I feel no guilt. Cutting ties was the right move. But I worry about my boyfriend losing his mom even if she was toxic. His dad remains supportive, but I'm concerned about the emotional toll. For those who have cut off family due to a partner, what advice can you offer to ease this transition? We're planning to start a family soon. How do I explain to our future kids what happened to their grandma? I'm scared my boyfriend might one day resent me for highlighting his mom's toxicity.